Jack McCauley, known as the Napoleon of the Ring. He was born March 24th, 1866 in Cork Island. And he died November 5th, 1937 in Forest Hills, New York, which is Queens. He stood 5 foot 2 inches and weighed 112 to 141 and a half pounds. He was an Irish American who participated in the Carnival of Champions. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, and I would like to continue the Carnival of Champions series right here with you on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Now, Jack McCauley was along with 10 other fighters who retired undefeated. He had Hungary's 3-time Olympic champion, Laszlo Papp, Jim Barry, the Brockton blockbuster, Rocky Marciano, Jae-Woon Kim, Ricardo Lopez, Young Mitchell, and Floyd Money Mayweather, as well as Joe Kawasaki. Now, Jack was known as a quick two-handed fist fighter with a snappy jab. He supposedly could punch you with very good hands to the body and head. He was introduced into the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1954 and the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1995. On March 28th, 1884, he began his professional debut against a fighter by the name of Joe Ellingworth. Fought him in New York, defeated him in 3 rounds. August 2nd, he would face Mike Leary, also in New York, and again in 3 rounds. Between 1884 and 1887, he had many amateur shows. He would have exhibitions against fighters such as Billy Frazier and Jimmy Nelson, Nonpareil, Jack Dempsey, who was a former middleweight champion. November 16, 1887, 74-round draw with Jim Carney, who was a lightweight champion. They fought at the Reserve Beach. It was for the World Lightweight Champion. And they fought under the Marquess of Queensberry rules. And this was held behind a stable of the Reserve Beach, 6 miles from Boston. Jim Carney was reported as getting the better of Jack. But before the spectators began mobbing the ring, and eventually the ring would collapse, these men were too slugging away. They were still fighting, regardless of the circumstance. They fought between a weight of 128 to 130 and a half pounds. Jack would also face Mike Daly. He would call him out February 25th, 1889 for his championship belt. March 21st, 1890, he would face Jim Carroll. And Carroll would get KO'd in the 47th round in San Francisco's Salt Lake City. According to the New York Daily Eagle, Jack and Jimmy Nelson had a scheduled fight in Europe. It was to be held January 10th, 1892. But on June 22nd, 1892, he KO'd Billy Frazier in the 3rd round. September 5th, he would face Billy Myers in New Orleans. And that would be the first day of the Carnival of Champions. Now, that fight was held September 5th. George Dixon versus Jack Skelly was September 6th. And John L. Sullivan and Gentleman Jim Corbett was scheduled for September 7th of 1892. December 10th, he would face Billy Myers in Chicago. It would be a 6-round no decision. will have an exhibition of 6 rounds, and it'll be a victory in 6 rounds. Jack will face fighters such as Benny Leonard and Freddie Welch, Jack Dempsey Nonpareil, George Compartier, Young Griffo, and Charlie Mitchell. On the night of September 5th, 1892, at the Olympic Club in New Orleans, the referee was John Duffy. It was for the lightweight championship of the world. And it would be the first fight that night on that card. And McCarthy would already drew with Myers. In their first bout, we're going to training seriously. It was reported that he didn't take his training seriously in their first match. But Jack McCarthy's parents were Cornelius McCarthy and James Bailey. They were living at Fifth Church, Cork City Island. Jack and his family migrated to the United States in 1871. He made $5,000 purse in 1888 and KO Billy Dance for the lightweight championship. He married 2 actresses, Katie Hart and Catherine Rowe. He would retire after defeating Young Griffo in 1894 and retired broke and absolutely no expenses were left for his burial in 1896. Now, after dying of complications of throat cancer at his home in Queens, arrangements were made for his funeral by his stepdaughter and her husband, Sadie and James of Salt Lake City, paid for his body to be shipped on a train to the cemetery, and he was buried at plot section 15, lot 73. You see, Jack was the first fight on that card of the Carnival of Champions. He would retire having 36 total bouts, 30 wins and 22 knockouts, 5 draws, 1 no contest. And he would retire undefeated. Now, many don't count this as a world championship affair because many of his fights were not under the Marcus Queensberry rules. I want to show you the fight that happened on the 5th of September, 1892 in the Police Gazette Scrapbook. Now I would like to share with you some information on this fight. That he fought at the Olympic Club in New Orleans, Louisiana, September 5th, 1892. Now Jack McCarthy knocks out Billy Myers, the Strencer Cyclone. In the 15th round of Bid League Contest Scrap, match brings out crowd and fancy prices for the ringside seats prevail. Now, Jack was the holder of the Police Gazette Lightweight Championship belt. He satisfies his fans and friends that their confidence in him was not misplaced. And he is convinced to public, that he was still the cleverest lightweight pugilist in the world. Now, those of you, I have spoken to you before, when I wear the glasses, it's hard for me to see through the camera because it's not a prescription lens. So you have to excuse me. I'm just going to view this mostly for you so you can see. This fight took place September 5th, 1892. And it was against Billy Myers, who he once fought before But the rumor was he didn't train hard for the fight. As a matter of fact, he fought him again after this fight in exhibitions and so on and so forth. But the reason why I wanted to show you this particular article is because this was part of the Carnival of Champions. And, it took place in 1892. This was day number 1, September 5th. I showed you yesterday day number 2, which was September 6th, between George Dixon and Jack Skelly. I'm just trying to scan the article here for you. Before 9 o'clock, the arena was uncomfortably full with men or of men who had paid prices ranging from $15. The best seats were $7.50. It was one of the best seats on the planet, according to this writer, or the mayor here. John Duffy was the referee. Now, John Duffy was a fighter as well. Now, they fought with gloves. And they were, I believe, 2-ounce gloves at that time. Says here, both men are staggered. McCarthy had missed 2 lefts and 1 right. Apparently he swung at the head. And in the 6th round, both men scored with rights to the stomach simultaneously. They both staggered. Very interesting. They have a lot of fights of McGarvey in this book. This is a lightweight championship book. 1,000 pages. A fighters he fought from the 1800s to the early 1900s. Has all the major championship fights in this book. He has the Ed Wargas and the Mexican Joe Rivers. Probably about 20 pages of that fight. And I just wanted to show you some articles containing that fight. So that was fight number 1 of the Carnival of Champions. I just want to thank you for viewing. This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Here you have Jack McCarthy and Billy Frazier. October 29th, 1886. All right, thanks for viewing. Salute.